Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtoto to the Shishimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtoto to the Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Did we finish this chapter, Marcy? Or do we have 1 or 2 verses left? I forget. 16. I forgot where we were. What to do? Well, I've got it on here. Let's see what it says. Okay, just give me a second here. So this says the last class, 7:54. That looks kind of late. The 25th. That sounds right. What do you think? That was the last class? Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. On this 25th day of July 2018 in SanDiego, reading Bhagavad Gita as it is translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Page 625. 625. From the 16th chapter, entitled The Divine and Demoniac Natures. Text number 8. All right, well. That won't help much. The materialists who have no concept of God think that they are advancing, but according to the Bhagavad Gita, they are unintelligent and devoid of all sense to see. If you look at the Sanskrit, Alpa Buddhaya. Oh, good. Alpa means small, and Buddhaya means intelligence. That's text 9. Okay, so we're, looks like we're on text 10. Can we go for 10? Let's do 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is page 627. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 30th day of July, 2018 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 16, the Divine and Demoniac Natures, text number 10 on page 627. Kamamashritya duspuram dambhamanamadanvitaha mohan guhitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivataha kamamashritya duspuram dambhamanamadanvitaha mohan guhitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivataha kamamashritya duspuram dambhamanamadanvitaha mohan guhitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivataha. Go ahead. Kamamashritya duspuram dambhamanamadanvitaha mohan guhitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivataha. Kamamashritya duspuram dambhamanamadanvitaha mohan guhitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivataha. Kamamashritya duspuram dambhamanamadanvitaha mohan guhitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivataha. All right, I'll read the synonyms. Kamam, lust; ashritya, taking shelter of; dushpuram, insatiable; dambha, of pride; mana, and false prestige; mada, anvitaha, absorbed in the conceit; mohat, by illusion; grihitva, taking; asat, non-permanent; grahan, things; pravartante, they flourish; ashuchi, to the unclean; vrataha, avowed. Translation. So this is describing the demons, taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige. The demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. Purport. The demoniac mentality is described here. The demons have no satiation for their lust. They will go on increasing and increasing their insatiable desires for material enjoyment. Although they are always full of anxieties on account of accepting non-permanent things, they still continue to engage in such activities out of illusion. They have no knowledge and cannot tell that they are heading in the wrong way. Accepting non-permanent things, such demoniac people create their own god, create their own hymns, and chant accordingly. The result is that they become more and more attracted to two things: sex enjoyment and accumulation of material wealth. The word ashuchi vrataha, unclean vows, is very significant in this connection. Such demoniac people are only attracted by wine, women, gambling, and meat-eating. Those are their ashuchi, unclean habits. Induced by pride and false prestige, they create some principles of religion which are not approved by the Vedic injunctions. Although such demoniac people are most abominable in the world, by artificial means the world creates a false honor for them. Although they are gliding toward hell, they consider themselves very much advanced. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So I think this kind of mentality is kind of familiar in our modern day world. All around us, we are very aware of the 1/100th of 1%, or the 1% rose to the 99%, who somehow, by their machinations, have accumulated vast quantities of wealth, and with that wealth, power. The very word Aishvarya, which means wealth in Sanskrit, comes from the word Ishvara, which means control or controller. So, with a lot of money, you can control. Just like in the 12th canto, it's described of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the qualities of this age, remarkable predictions. And one of them is that you can't get justice unless you have money. In other words, you can buy the judges, you can buy good lawyers, you can pay off this, pay off that, you know. And in this way, manipulate the legal system. Whereas the poor fellow who gets sucked up into the legal system can get railroaded to jail. He may not have even done anything. So this is the quality of the age. And it's practically obscene to understand the amount of wealth that some of these individuals accumulate. You know, the Waltons of the Walmart fame. The original, I forget his first name, Walton, who invented the whole thing of this, you know, buying in bulk and having these huge outlets. So his children are some of the wealthiest people in the world. They just inherited billions and billions. That one family has as much wealth as half the people in America, or more. It's just ridiculous. What to do with it all? So as described here, dushpuram, the insatiable, the kama, or the allowing the material desire to take you over, that's your only goal in life, which is what is explained here. There's no end to it. As explained at the end of the 3rd chapter, it burns like fire and is never satisfied. So you can see how it also produces greed. Lust and greed are like brother and sister. And these are the 2 of the 3 gates leading to hell, Krishna will say in a few verses. Tribadhanara kasedam dwaram nashanam kama krodas tata lobhas tasmarita. The other one is anger. Lust, anger, and greed. When your material desire is frustrated, you become angry. If you supposedly satisfy it, then you want more and more, and then the greed manifests. Krishna says these are the open doors to hell. So this is very, telling. This purport just could have been written in today's news. They're always full of anxieties, still continue to engage in the unclean activities. And then previously he said ugra karma, the previous verse. Ugra karma is horrible act, unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Prabhupada would often give the example, I think he does in his purport, of the atomic weapons, nuclear weapons. You should always remember that the forefront of science is always being employed by the military. There's all kinds of weapons that they invent, that they're developing, that we have no idea what they have, right? You know that. So, what is that? How to kill more people faster? That's called horrible ugra karma. During World War II, just like actually even in the Mahabharata war, in the Battle of Kurukshetra, which will take place as soon as this Bhagavad Gita is finished speaking, there are all of these rules of war that began with. Famously, they would fight during day and the evening. They would visit each other's tents and discuss how wonderfully we shot the arrows. And then during the day, again, they're fighting each other. But gradually, over the space of the 18 days of the battle, those rules degraded. And we find at the end that Ashwatthama, who was supposedly a Brahmin, he was the son of Dronacharya, he killed, not only did he kill children, he killed them in their sleep, which is like doubly abominable, totally against the laws of war. And then he tried to kill Uttara and her last child, the Prikit, who's in the womb, by throwing this personalized atom bomb called the Brahmastra. Terrible. So the whole thing degraded. And that's what happened in World War II even. there were certain laws, there were certain understood, they weren't laws, but they were, you don't mass bomb the cities where just the women and the children are there, But that's what happened eventually. Not just in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but before that. They bombed Tokyo, firebombing Dresden. It was just horrific. Imagine they dropped so many bombs, the whole city's on fire. People took shelter in the basements, no air. The oxygen is sucked out. It's not war. That's kind of annihilation. So that's what happens. It gets out of hand. Remember in the 3rd chapter at the end there, he says, "Arvitam gyanametena gyanino nityabaidana kamarupena kontara dushparena lenacha." The word dushparena is the same word here. Dushparena. So it says the lust. Arjuna asks, what is it that forces us to do things even against our own best interests that we know? In other words, you do something, how did I do that? Of course, anger is obvious. Someone will be so angry he'll kill his brother and said, oh my God, what have I done? That happens all the time. But the whole thing starts with kama, not just sex desire, but material desire in general. So this verse that I just quoted, avritam means to cover. Jnana means knowledge. When the material desire gets too powerful, it covers your higher intelligence, your understanding. A perfect example of all of the addictions going on. The opioids, the cigarettes are still going on, alcohol, drugs of every kind. The devices, they've even got, I'm sure the next time they print that book, they have a big book full of all the mental diseases. They'll include that, video game addiction. In other words, Prabhupada pointed out, it's on the package of cigarettes. I remember when that started, the early 60s. I don't remember that. I was smoking at the time. And 10 years I smoked as a kid. So it says how cigarette smoking is hazardous to your health. All right. Then you still light up. I'm young, I can do it. Doesn't matter, You still find yourself getting up the stairs, puffing a little more, even as a young man, It's insane. And it goes on like that. You try to get off, you're an alcoholic, finally you get dry, one drink is going to set you off, you fall off the wagon, All right, I can do it, well, 2 hours later you're drunk on the bench somewhere. So what is going on there? It's spoken here in the Gita, that the material desire, which don't forget, it takes over your senses, mind, and intelligence. This is what real addiction is, when the senses are so powerful, and the heroine's got into your senses, so that you feel physical withdrawal symptoms. If you go, if it's just a mental thing, it can be just as addictive, but it doesn't count as that because it's not a physical thing. But it can be just as painful to give up this or give up something that you become used to. So the demons have thrown in a towel. They don't care about the Bhagavad Gita instructions. They are controlled. The intelligence controlled by the lower self, by material desire. And that's what's meant kamam ashritya. They've taken shelter of this kama, which is impossible to satisfy. And damba mana madanvita. So here's the result. Damba mana, here's this word damba again. It began with damba as a prime quality of the demons back in text 4. Damba darpo abhimanascha. The same words appear again and again. Damba mana madanvita. His dambo darpo abhimanascha. Pride, arrogance, conceit. Now this false pride means you're proud of something that you really don't deserve to be proud of. That's what false pride means. That's called hypocrisy, deception. That's a very important element of damba. So they know that they're hollow inside. They know, the demons know all of the nefarious things they did, the people they, killed or ruined in order to get where they are. But they come off as, very nice. They'll get invited to the functions, the official government buildings and events, because they're so rich, they're powerful, So there's all this deception going on every level. And pride and false prestige, absorbed in conceit, bewildered, We're hit basad, having grabbed hold of the impermanent. This is the whole essence of material life. This is according to Prahlad Maharaj. His father asked, what is the best thing you learned today? Could you give me like a mite more of this? Tatsadamanye asudabhaya dehidam sadasamudvigna deham asadgrahat. Notice the same words, asadgrahat. He told his father, the original instance of speaking truth to power. You know, a little child speaking to this monstrous demon who's taken over the whole universe. He didn't even call him father, or best of the demons. The best thing I learned, sadhu means best. He didn't call him a sadhu. My opinion, father, is that the best thing I learned today, best for whom? Dehinam, for the embodied soul, who is sada samudvigna, always disturbed, because dhyam asadgrahat, the mind is always absurd because they've taken hold of and taken shelter of the impermanent. You're putting your whole reliance on this temporary, fragile little body, and your bank account, and your whatever other material things you have. And as you get older, you know, the contrast between all of that so-called power you have and your failing powers, physical powers, becomes very obvious. You see these guys, you know, the Koch brothers. You know, does that mean you know all these people? These are real Machiavellian. With all their money, they have private business. It's all oil, you know, which itself is demoniac. And they buy the politicians. They do this. They have gerrymandering in order to win politically, you know. Now, one Koch brother has kicked the other Koch brother off. Did you notice that? Yeah. There's one who is now ascending. The other guy was fired. Just enjoy the billions, you know, but I still want to wield the power. But you look at their faces, you know, you can see the face of the index of the mind. These are not peaceful, happy people. They're full of anxiety. What does it say? That's the next verse. Chintam apadimeyam. Chintam is anxieties, unlimited. Because the whole thing is built on a sinful, vicious mentality. That's the demons. So this is very common today. We actually have our work cut out for us. We're we're representatives of Krishna, the good and the true and the virtuous, you know, controlling these lower self, not taking shelter of kama, right? The whole thing is so we're outnumbered, but so are the Pandavas. We have Krishna on our side. If we stay with Krishna and we follow the instructions and we spread the chanting, that has the effect of killing the demoniac mentality within the heart. And that's why Lord Chaitanya said, Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All victory, Vijayate means victory, to the congregational chanting of the holy name. So it may seem impossible now, but just see how impossible it would seem 45 years ago. And now it's over 50 years, and chanting is all over the world. So there it is. Any questions on this verse? We'll go on. Okay. Chintam apadimeyam cha palayantam upashitaha kamopaboga padama etava didinishthita asha pashasata buddha kama krodha parayanaha ihante kama bhogartam anyayen artha sanchayan. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable, bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger. They secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. Krishna always hits it right on the head, doesn't it? It's just perfect. Purport: the demoniac accept that the enjoyment of the senses is the ultimate goal of life. And this concept they maintain until death. They do not believe in life after death, and they do not believe that one takes on different types of bodies according to one's karma or activities in this world. Their plans for life are never finished, and they go on preparing plan after plan, all of which are never finished. We have personal experience of a person of such demoniac mentality who, even at the point of death, was requesting the physician to prolong his life for 4 years more because his plans were not yet complete. Such foolish people do not know that a physician cannot prolong life even for a moment. When the notice is there is no consideration of the man's desire. The laws of nature do not allow a second beyond what one is destined to enjoy. The demoniac person who has no faith in God or the supersoul within himself performs all kinds of sinful activities simply for sense gratification. He does not know that there is a witness sitting within his heart. The supersoul is observing the activities of the individual soul. As it is stated in the Upanishads, there are two birds sitting in one tree. One is acting and enjoying or suffering the fruits of the branches, and the other is witnessing. But one who is demoniac has no knowledge of Vedic scripture, nor has he any faith. Therefore he feels free to do anything for sense enjoyment, regardless of the consequences. So this is the nature of the mind. When the lower self becomes strong, and you're moved simply by your material desires, then your knowledge is covered. And you concoct some philosophy to justify what you're doing. Nobody likes to feel guilty about everything they're doing. Right? So therefore we think there's no God. There's no God! You Hare Krishnas, you're nuts. You know. Look at you guys wasting your life sitting around here. Let's go to the party, you know. So that's the nature of the demons. They're not just agnostic. They're positive that there's no God. That was said at the beginning. Asatyam Jagadahu Anishuram. They declare that there's no Ishwar. Because they're so guilty, deep down inside, that they feel they have to justify it, convince themselves that they're not going to be punished. There's no life after death. Prabhupada went to Russia, famously, for a couple of weeks in '72, I think it was. So somehow or other he got this interview with a professor there named Professor Kotovsky, and Prabhupada got so much mileage out of this Professor Kotovsky. He was a communist, and he told Swamiji, after death everything is finished. That was his famous line. Prabhupada always quote. And he gave the example of how here's even the upper crust learned soul. He's a qualified professor. And they don't even know the A of the ABC of spiritual life, which is that this is the third verse Krishna speaks, is that within this body the soul is passing from boyhood, childhood to youth, middle age, old age, and then gets another body after death. The sober person, the dhira, is not disturbed by this change. The sober person is the one who's undergoing it, as well as those who are watching. So that simple fact, which is revolutionary, it completely knocks out any sense of security or happiness you can have simply by enjoying the senses, because you're creating a very dark future for yourself. As simple as that. And that's why in Vedic culture, that's a central point of understanding. Why do 40 million people gather at the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad every 12 years? Well, for many reasons. But the main reason is to get a liberation, or at least move toward it. If we bathe in the river at the right time, we'll get liberation. From what? From birth and death. In other words, we're living forever. We don't want to be bound up in a material body again, which just means suffering. The problem with all of this opulence in the West is that one of the problems is that it blunts your view of the actual nature of this material world, and you become spoiled by the opulence. Now, some of that is wearing off. Some of that is being shocked, and that's why people can't take it. They thought, we have it made. We got a middle-class lifestyle in the United States. Well, suddenly the dollar is worth less, the job is insecure, What do we do? Well, we chant Hare Krishna? No, we don't know about that. I'm thinking, with some diversion, drugs or entertainment or something to get our mind off of. Bread and circuses, right? This is the Visigoths are coming, and we'll have a big circus. We'll have a big gladiators. So that's the culture we live in. But Krishna is enlightening us here, and at the end, the last 4 verses of this chapter, which are coming up pretty quick, he's going to give the conclusion, which is that, these demons, they're thrown again and again down into suffering. They lose the human form of life. It's very dark. Bad news. Don't go there. Trivadam Narakastedam. There's 3 gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. The wise person gives them up, and what does he do? He or she do? Acts for their own welfare. Etava mukta kontaya tomo dwarais to be in. These are the doors to darkness and suffering. Tomo dwarais to be in achayat atmanak shreyas. Acts for the ultimate shreya of the Atma. This is what Arjuna wanted to know. How can I act for my ultimate good? And if you do it right, you'll go to the supreme goal, beyond birth and death. On the other hand, if one continues to act on the basis of his whims, kama karataha, you can't get perfection, you can't get happiness, and what to speak of the supreme goal? Forget about it, as they say in New York. And so the final verse of the chapter, which is a key verse in the whole Bhagavad Gita in my mind, tasmat shastra pamanam te karya vavastito gatva shastra vadhanoktam karma karta miharasi. This word vidha is important. Vidha means the rules and regulations, the instructions. You're free to obey them or to ignore them. But the advantage of obeying them is that you can get happiness, the supreme goal, and get rid of all misery. So here he says, therefore, to get evidence, pramana, of what to do and what not to do, karya vavastito, consult the Shastra, the real revealed scripture, as it is. Karya, and understanding what the Shastra says, act in that way as a matter of duty. You're not going to act spontaneously because it goes against your conditioned nature. So you have to use your intelligence and faith, and with that strength, control the lower self by the higher self, and gradually you become on the steady platform. That's the way to light. Otherwise, in this age, the influence is so powerful. We've seen, unfortunately, devotees who were here for years, initiated Brahmins in this temple, and gone completely over the rainbow, and don't believe a word of this anymore. I mean, it's a great shock to me. Bad association, the offenses and bad association. Okay, I'll stop haranguing you. Well, we can go on if there's no questions, discussion. Okay, now these famous verses where Krishna pretends to be a demon, and he gives a little speech. Text 13 to 15. Idamadya maya labdham imam prapse manoratham idamasti idamapi me bhavishyati punardhanam asomaya hatak shatrur hanishe chaparanapi isharoham hambogi siddhoham balavan sukhi adhyo vijnavanasmi konyosti sadrisho maya yakshe dasyami modishya ityajnana vimohita. Hare Krishna. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will get more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Next verse. Aneka chitta vibranta mohajala samavita pasakta kama bhogeshu patanti nadakeshu chao. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Purport: the demoniac man knows no limit to his desire to acquire money. That is unlimited. He thinks only of how much assessment he has just now and schemes to engage that stock of wealth further and further. For that reason, he does not hesitate to act in any sinful way, and so deals in the black market for illegal gratification. He is enamored by the possessions he has already, such as land, family, house, and bank balance, and he is always planning to improve them. He believes in his own strength, and he does not know that whatever he is gaining is due to his past good deeds. He is given an opportunity to accumulate such things, but he has no conception of past causes. He simply thinks that all his massive wealth is due to his own endeavor. A demoniac person believes in the strength of his personal work, not in the law of karma. According to the law of karma, a man takes his birth in a high family, or becomes rich, or very well educated, or very beautiful because of good work in the past. The demoniac thinks that all these things are accidental and due to the strength of one's personal ability. They do not sense any arrangement behind all the varieties of people, beauty, and education. Anyone who comes into competition with such a demoniac man is his enemy. There are many demoniac people, and each is enemy to the others. This enmity becomes more and more deep between persons, then between families, then between societies, and at last between nations. Therefore, there is constant strife, war, and enmity all over the world. Each demoniac person thinks that he can live at the sacrifice of all others. Generally, a demoniac person thinks of himself as the supreme God, and the demoniac preacher tells his followers, "Why are you seeking God elsewhere? You are all yourselves God. Whatever you like, you can do. Don't believe in God. Throw away God. God is dead." These are the demoniac's preachings. Although the demoniac person sees others equally rich and influential, or even more so, he thinks that no one is richer than he, and that no one is more influential than he. As far as promotion to the higher planetary system is concerned, he does not believe in performing yajnas or sacrifices. Demons think that they will manufacture their own process of yajna and prepare some machine by which they will be able to reach any higher planet. The best example of such a demoniac man was Ravana. He offered a program to the people by which he would prepare a staircase so that anyone could reach the heavenly planets without performing sacrifices such as are prescribed in the Vedas. Similarly, in the present age, such demoniac men are striving to reach the higher planetary systems by mechanical arrangements. These are examples of bewilderment. The result is that, without their knowledge, they are gliding toward hell. Here the Sanskrit word moha jala is very significant. Jala means net. Like fish caught in a net, they have no way to come out. So this is, today there's a movement of these very wealthy people who could, have billions to actually go to Mars, isn't it? And then there's a whole other movement of how to survive the obvious conflagration that's about to come, and that is they have very elaborate underground shelters. I mean, more than shelters, there's all kinds of opulence under there. So much food stuff. They're thinking they're going to weather it. Can you imagine living in a place like that? I suppose there's a nuclear war. It's just horrible. I mean, if it comes, just let me be right under it. Just tell me, Hare Krishna. A big rip-roaring kirtan. What do you think, Zach? Right on the beach. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's the only safe place in the universe. So you can see the delusion here. I mean, this is so pertinent. I couldn't help thinking of our glorious, our dear leader. Could I go on, our dear leader in the United States? Perfect example of what we have here. And now, and you have in these United States, you have a definite, not an open war going on, but a big struggle between one group of the demons and the other group of the demons, the deep state versus this like, I mean, you can see it. It's playing out every day. It's just, and the poor people are just they're victimized by the whole thing. Just victimized. The only shelter in these trying times, and any time, but in these trying times, obviously, is Krishna consciousness. To be able, because so much, if you go back all the way to the second chapter, you know, and throughout the Gita, you'll find so much emphasis on toleration of the dualities. You know, how to remain equipoised. Right at the beginning, the verse after Dehinosmin, which is describing transmigration, then he says, you have to tolerate, Arjun. Matra sparsha kaunteya. I heard a lecture, or maybe it's in the purport, I forget, where Prabhupada is describing how Arjun's response, say, to Dehinosmin. He said, well, that may be true, you know, but still, we feel sad when someone close to us dies or is killed or is injured or whatever, gets sick. There's no denying that. Even though we may have the knowledge, because there's various emotional ties and commitments, inevitably. So therefore, Krishna says, Matra sparshas. You have to tolerate. If you don't, the only way to have a clear path to liberation is to learn to tolerate all of the dualities and ups and downs of this material world. That's like the fourth or fifth verse. Yam hi nabadiyante te purusham purusharshama. The matra sparsha, the contact of the senses with their sense objects, and that includes the mind, inevitably produce happiness and distress, heat and cold. You know, we could use a little cold now. You know, but then when it gets winter, you get, we need heat, right? Well, you can't oftentimes you can't adjust, right? So you're just too cold or you're too hot. Have to tolerate. Then he says, all of these these sensations which produce suffering, you have to, if you can tolerate, purusham purushashaba sama dukkha sukham dhiram, here's the word dhir again, so amritattvaya kalpate. For those who are how do I put it, self-realized, who are able to be equipoised in such dualities, they are eligible for liberation. Doesn't mean they're going to get liberation, but it's necessary but not sufficient. You know what I'm saying? If you're being whipped around by the dualities of this world, you have no hope. So that alone is a worthy impetus for being Krishna conscious, because by withdrawing from so much entanglement in the material world, minimizing what you think you need, you know, because you're enjoying the pleasure of self-realization, God realization, Krishna consciousness, higher taste, that enables you to weather, if you will, the ups and downs of this world better, you know, and so just the opposite of the demons. Any little reversal, you know, and they go off and you fly off the handle, enraged. You know, the slight. You've slighted me, you know, get on Twitter. All right, capital letters. Insanity. Yeah. There's 53 million followers on Twitter. Directly speak. And they're, you know, waiting. And whatever he says, that gives the cue to what they should think. It's crazy. So, this is, you know, these verses describe our present condition here. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. We will resume tomorrow. It takes 17. And we'll make good progress. This chapter is short, but it's very important. Okay, now, are we in Nectar Devotion? I think we are. Did we read Krishna book last week? So we were supposed to read Nectar Devotion? Did we lose a day for Nectar? All right. So we'll have 1 day of Nectar Devotion and 2 days of Krishna. Somehow we'll get this together. Okay. This is Krishna book. We're not going to read right now. The Nectar of Devotion. And we are in the chapter entitled, wait a minute. Let me make sure I get this right. So I'm reading it also. Okay. Okay. This must be it. Yes. Eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service. Okay. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that after many, many births, when one becomes actually wise, he surrenders unto Vasudeva, knowing perfectly well that Krishna or Vasudeva is the origin and cause of all causes. Verse? Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Gyanavan mam prapadyate. Got to know it. 7:19. Therefore, he, such a devotee, sticks to the lotus feet of Krishna and gradually develops love for him. Although such a wise man is very dear to Krishna, the others are also accepted as very magnanimous, because even though they are distressed or in need of money, they have come to Krishna for satisfaction. Thus they are accepted as liberal, broad-minded Mahatmas. Without being elevated to the position of a jnani or a wise man, one cannot stick to the principle of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The less intelligent, or those whose intelligence has been taken away by the spell of Maya, are attached to different demigods on account of influence of the modes of nature. That's like the next verse. The wise man is he who has thoroughly understood that he's spirit, soul, and not simply a body. Because he realizes that he is spirit and Krishna is the Supreme Spirit, he knows that his intimate relationship should be with Krishna, not with this body. The distressed and the man in want of money are in the material concept of life, because distress and need of money are both in relationship with the body. One who is inquisitive may be a little above the distressed and the man in need of money, but still he is on the material platform. But a wise man who seeks Krishna knows perfectly well that he is spirit soul or Brahman, and that Krishna is the supreme spirit soul or Parabrahman. He knows that the spirit soul, being subordinate and finite, should always dovetail himself with the infinite and supreme soul, Krishna. That is the relationship of the wise man with Krishna. It can be concluded that a person who is freed from the bodily concept of life is an eligible candidate for pure devotional service. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that after Brahman realization, when one is freed from material anxieties and can see every living entity on an equal level, he is eligible to enter into devotional service. What is that? Yesham Dvantakatam Bhava. Anyway. As stated before, I think that's Brahmabhuta. As stated before, there are three kinds of happiness: material, spiritual, and devotional. Devotional service and the happiness due to its execution are not possible as long as one is materially affected. If someone has a desire for material enjoyment or for becoming one with the Supreme, these are both considered material concepts. Because the impersonalists cannot appreciate the spiritual happiness of association and the exchange of loving affairs with the Lord, their ultimate goal is to become one with the Lord. This concept is simply an extension of the material idea. In the material world, everyone is trying to be the topmost headman among all his fellow men or neighbors. Either communally, socially, or nationally, everyone is competing to be greater than all others in the material concept of life. This greatness can be extended to the unlimited, so that one actually wants to become one with the greatest of all, the Supreme Lord. This is also a material concept, although maybe a little more advanced. But the perfect spiritual concept of life is complete knowledge of one's constitutional position, in which one knows enough to dovetail himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. One must know that he is finite, and that the Lord is infinite. Thus it is not possible to actually become one with the Lord, even if one aspires for this. It is simply not possible. Therefore, anyone who has any desire or aspiration for satisfying his senses by becoming more and more important, either in the material sense or in the spiritual sense, cannot actually relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami has therefore compared possessing these bhukti, material, and mukti, liberation desires, with being influenced by the black art of a witch. It's a famous verse. I forget how it goes. What is it? Bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami. That's a little different. Yeah, no, it's a little different, but I think it's close, yeah. Okay. In both cases, one is in trouble, whether one's bhukti, material enjoyment, or mukti, the two witches. Bhukti means material enjoyment. Mukti means to become free from material anxiety and become one with the Lord. These desires are compared to being haunted by ghosts and witches, because while these aspirations for material enjoyment or spiritual oneness with the Supreme remain, no one can relish the actual transcendental taste of devotional service. A pure devotee never cares for liberation. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to Krishna. Let's chant together. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitam va jagadish kamaye mama janmane janmanishware bhavata bhaktadahai tukitvahi. My dear son of Nanda, I do not want any material happiness in the shape of many followers, nor immense opulence in wealth, nor any beautiful wife, nor do I want cessation from material existence. I may take many births one after another, but what I pray from you is that my devotion unto you may always remain unflinching. The attention of a pure devotee is so much attracted to glorification of the Lord's pastimes, name, qualities, forms, etc., that the devotee does not care for mukti. Sri Bilvamangal Thakur has said, if I am engaged in devotional service to you, my dear Lord, then very easily I can perceive your presence everywhere. And as far as liberation is concerned, I think liberation stands at my door with folded hands, waiting to serve me. To pure devotees, therefore, liberation and spiritual emancipation are not very important things. In this connection, in the third canto, Bhagavatam, chapter 25, verse 36, Kapila Dev advises his mother, my dear mother, my pure devotees are charmed by seeing my different forms, the beauty of my face, the structure of my body, so enchanting. My laughing, my pastimes, and my glance appear to them so beautiful that their minds are always absorbed in thoughts of me, and their lives are dedicated fully unto me. Although such people do not desire any kind of liberation or any kind of material happiness, still I give them a place among my associates in the supreme abode. This evidence from the Bhagavatam gives assurance to the pure devotee of being elevated to association with the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami remarks in this connection that one who is actually attracted by the beauty of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna or by his service, and whose heart by such attraction is always full with transcendental bliss, will naturally never aspire excuse me, after the liberation which is so valuable to the impersonalists. I'm going to look that verse up. I know, sounds like a good one. A similar passage is also there in the third canto, 4th chapter, verse 15 of the same book, wherein Uddhava addresses Krishna and says, my dear Lord, for persons who are engaged in your transcendental loving service, there is nothing worth obtaining from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation, although happiness from these different sources can be very easily had by them. In spite of such facilities, my Lord, I don't aspire to achieve any such results. My only prayer is that I may have unflinching faith and devotion unto your lotus feet. Similarly, in the third canto, 25th chapter, 31st verse, Kapila Deva instructs his mother, my dear mother, devotees whose hearts are always filled in the service of my lotus feet and who are prepared to do anything for my satisfaction, especially those fortunate devotees who assemble together to understand my qualities, pastimes, and form, and thus glorify me congregationally and derive transcendental pleasure therefrom, never desire to become one with me. And what to speak of becoming one with me, if they are offered a post like mine in my abode, or opulence like mine, or even personal association with me with similar bodily features, they refuse to accept it because they're satisfied simply by being engaged in my devotional service. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you for listening. This is the nectar of devotion. Okay, let us get ready for Aarti.
Alright. You second off? Alright, see ya. Stand up, people. He took for sure. Yeah, oh, didn't he? Like I said, I don't understand how people leave without being shot. Krishna Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Himate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Idinamine Namo Vishnuvaraya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Himate Bhakti Vedanta Swami
ISKCON Bhakti Foundation Church, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita, the divine grace, Srila Bhagavad Gita, Jai. Nanda Gauri Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem to Guru Sri Krishna Chaitanya Bhagavan Nityananda, Sri Vedika Radha, Sri Vasadi Gaur, Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Govindam Sham Varkun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Maya Govardhan Ki Jai. Jagannath Purinam Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Brahma Devi Ki Jai. Vimuna Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samadeva Ki Jai. All glory to the Son of the Lord.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to the Son of the Lord.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to the Son.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Guru and Radha.
All glory to Guru.
Namaste Namaste.
Hare
about it?
It's okay. Probably fun.
How did that ever with? I didn't meet devotees until my senior year in high school, my senior year of college.
Maybe you saw them, but you just...
Maybe, but I never had any kind of interaction with them. Yeah. Until my senior year. It's funny because
There's a program there.
What?
There's a program for show distribution.
Yeah, I knew the program was there, but I think it's kind of little.
He's not.
It's not super.
Yeah.
Well, so also I had very different dietary.
Thank you for
interests
that.
then. Yeah, you want to take a little dinner?
It's really nice.
No, you can take it to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to eat here.
I guess so. I've already eaten.
You don't
also
have to
hot milk.
eat. It's okay.
Okay.
Hot milk, vegetable, grain, chicken salad.
Okay. I'll go.
Yeah, if you're pulling my arm.
This morning I thought of you.
It's coming, and it's not too hot.
Huh?
It's not too hot. The last time that you cooked, it was too hot. Spicy. Suresh, here we go.
Santoshka spicy?
This we always have trouble keeping the door, open when the wind comes in.
Oh, I realize How's lots of cake?
Yes, 11 weeks on. August 17th and what's your name? Chris Legend. Potato and cauliflower. Okay, so then it's
This door is so hard to open. I think it fits over here.
Look at this guy here. If you want to lose weight, you gotta get your level about it.
Good to know.
Nice to meet you, Chris. My name is Damodar. Damodar Kumar Das. And do you know about our Thursday program?
The Christian one?
That's right.
Yeah, I just got all of that.
Oh, great. I really recommend coming back.
This can't be the same.
Yes.
Recorded?
Okay. Take a close.